Hi, this is Danny Ryan, co-founder and VP of Business Development for ThreeWill, and I'm sitting here with Jason Pace. He's the president of Select Methods. Hey, Jason.
Good morning, Danny.
Well, before we get started, today we're going to cover some of the sales and marketing productivity tools that we use and sort of how do we use them. Tell me a little bit more about your company, Select Methods.
Right, Select Methods is what they call a hybrid agency nowadays. What we do is we do three things basically. We help our clients attract new customers, engage the ones they have, and then make the most out of their sales and marketing dollars. Really all the things that keep an entrepreneur up at night. We work with small businesses between $2 and $25 million in revenue to help them engineer how to grow and take the next step in their business.
Cool. Awesome. Sounds like a cool company.
It's great. We have a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know this is something we like to geek out on every once in a while. In fact, probably every time we get together, the conversation sometimes always leads to what are you using for this, or what are you using for that, and how are you using it, and what are you not using, and those types of conversations. So I wanted to go through a blog post that I did back in February, which I was trying to sort of say where I was with some of my sales and marketing tools, and a little bit about how I was using them. I think I originally started this out as a top 10 list. And it grew into, as you said, a baker's dozen. So it was 13 of them, and we can focus in on these, or if there are other ones that you seem to be using, we can jump into those as well. I'll get us kicked off here with the first one that I have in my toolbox is for my website and blog. I play the marketing. About 50% of my time is spent towards marketing. Would love if it was 100%, but it is what it is. And I love working on our website, and I use WordPress. And it's kind of interesting because ThreeWill does a lot of SharePoint work, which is a platform from Microsoft, which you can do public-facing sites, but we typically are doing a lot of intranets and extranets. And I there's part of things that, the saying, the cobbler's children have no shoes. I can't afford what we do. I'm a small company.
Yeah.
And so, and as much as I love SharePoint and we used to have it running on SharePoint, I'm using WordPress nowadays. And really it's amazing to see the themes that come out, the plugins that people put out there. And just through the years, you just find out why it's such a popular platform for websites. And it's, whatever I have it, a lot of my marketing tools have plugins that go into our website. And so, I'm really concerned about what is the first impression that someone gets about ThreeWill, and I want that to be a solid impression. And I find that really having a good site is key to that. Recently I've been focusing more on performance stuff. I know Google factors that in, and so I've been, like it or not, trying out a lot of different plugins. It's amazing how you can just try different things out. They don't work,
Sure.
That's fine. So WordPress, are your folks using that? Is that a typical for you in your tool bag?
Well, yes, and the thing about websites today that's more important than ever is that the content in a website is dynamic and changing and fresh all the time. Mm-hmm. The search engines really key in on whether or not a site is an active participant in the global conversation about whatever your business is about, right? Mm-hmm. And so what's important about that for you and me is that a site is easy to update and work with behind the scenes, right? And so I have not found anything better than WordPress, and I've tried multiple CMS platforms for just flat out ease of use, a great community of developers like you mentioned, and just overall performance and acceptance across the different hosting platforms and providers. And so, I highly recommend WordPress. I think there's a lot of development going on on the actual core program. So I would say, your website is a container for your content now. And so to the extent that it's easy to add content, update content, and keep it fresh, the CMS is really, really important. So I think WordPress is where it's at. And I'd have to agree, and having tried other systems, I think it's hands down the best.
Yeah, maybe this may be a good topic for another episode, would be to cover some of the plugins, like the SEO plugins and some of those just the different integrations that you use with WordPress. That might be something interesting to go into.
We could go on and on about SEO. I think that is a good idea.
Yeah.
We could have almost a full episode about that.
The next thing that I cover is social, and I've gone back and forth using a lot of different tools, and I've settled on Hootsuite, and probably the areas that I use the most out of it is I do like whenever I put a blog out, I have it reaggregate across the different. I know you're supposed to be doing the retargeting, probably doing a better job than I am with, focusing in on the message per social network, but oh boy, I just have so many hours in the day. Just as long as it gets out to the different social networks, I'm happy about it. I've also played around with, it's nice how you can plan out, like I schedule per quarter, just a good flow of messages going out. What I did is I looked through my website, I saw what are some of the consistent messages that I wanted to get out to the public. I'm a little bit of an Excel geek, so I created a spreadsheet. You can put 250 messages out per each time that you upload them, and so I ended up trying to plan out per quarter, what do I have, when are those messages going out. They have a nice little calendar view. You can sort of put what are the messages that you want to get out, and that goes in combination with the blog posts that I'm putting out. So it's got I want to have a good frequency of messages that are going out. Like you were saying, it matters that your content's fresh. And I find, Hootsuite has helped me, and it's made it easier for me to consistently put out a message. Do you use Hootsuite? Do you use something different, or what in this area? What do you feel like is your go-to tool?
Well, my creative team manages social media for multiple clients, so production is important to us, and being able to have a backlog of social media posts that are ready to go, that are scheduled. So we've looked into several tools. We've used several tools. We did. I think we're on the same track with this one as well. We have settled on Hootsuite because for us it's important to be able to have that sort of high volume, backlog of scheduled posts and things like that. The other thing we use it for is just to listen in on the global conversation. Mm-hmm. Again, it's important to be a part of that conversation and to know where that conversation is heading at any given time. I think mm-hmm. per your point also, being able to plan ahead for seasonality and things mm-hmm. like that, things that are relevant to the season that you're in, baseball season, football season, Valentine's Day, things like that, being able to thematically sort of stay in touch with your audience as well. But really more than anything, it's about being able to monitor what's going on, what's being said in your particular area, and then be relevant in your response or in your participation of it.
I love how your response is, well, my team is, and mine is, well, I do. but it's like, I'll have my lawyers talk to your lawyers. Well, I don't have any lawyers.
Well,
I'm my lawyers talk to themselves.
And it's so funny. I mean, to me, at my age, I guess, 45, social media I feel a little bit behind. I have some younger people that work for me who just, social media is part of their nervous system, right? And they really, really get it. And so part of my job is to help small, business owners and entrepreneurs understand how relevant that is to them. Because whereas you and I understand the relevance and the importance of it, I talk to entrepreneurs all the time that are like, why do I need social media? And they think about it in terms of like, well, my kids use Facebook and that's what they think social media is. Mm-hmm. I would say 90% of the entrepreneurs I interact with are not active on Twitter or in that sort of way. Now they all have LinkedIn profiles, most of them do, but they don't participate in the conversation that's happening out there. And part of marketing today that's important is being a part of that. And I think at another level, some of them who do get it to some degree think that it's all about followers and how many followers they can get, and they say things like, well, I can't even see why anybody would want to follow us, and so I say, well, that's not near as important as, again, being involved in the conversation, because with the way people buy these days, they go and they do their research on their own. They look for potential solutions out there by starting with Google and Twitter, and Google indexes all that stuff. And so it's really important to be a part of that, because if you're not a part of that conversation, it's likely you're not going to be a part of their lineup when they start making decisions.
Yeah, and I think I know I could definitely do a better job at that. And there's often times in which, if you're just doing self-promotion of your brand, who cares?
Yeah, nobody.
Right? Who cares?
Right.
But then you're there. I think there's a good level steady state of information you want to get out about your brand.
Yeah.
That you need to do. It's just the nature of things. But there's often I think you have to, from an ego standpoint, sort of let it go and realize that if you say something about your company and it might hey, we work for a consulting company. How sexy is that?
Yeah.
But it is it's so I shouldn't really expect a whole lot of retweets when I'm talking about a customer or different things like that. It is what it is. It's a business to business type of thing, but you still need to stay on it. You still need to get the message out there. Sometimes you're not going to have a whole lot of interaction with some of your stuff. It's funny, I look at other people, similar types of businesses as mine, and you go and one of the first things I go do is look at the comments and see if people are leaving comments, and it's usually crickets, right?
Yeah.
It's crickets, but it's so difficult, especially on some of these business related content, to get interaction.
It is, but people don't do business with other businesses. People do business with other people.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's useful about social media is just to be able to share who you are and what your organization is about and what you believe, what you think, and that helps people take the next step towards understanding what you can potentially do for them. We live and we sell in a disconnected way now. Most of our sales and most of our interactions, they're not people walking through the front of our store in the front door. They're not people giving us a call anymore. They're not people who we actually meet face to face the very first time. And so a lot of what they get, or a lot of what they learn about us is through our websites, which unfortunately rarely ever feature us as people. They talk about our solutions, they have bullet points on them. And so social media is also a way for you to personalize your business, right? There's nothing wrong with showing how fun your business is, highlighting your people. That's important. We're still people. In the end, we do business with each other. And so social media is an interesting way to do that. One of the things we definitely need to have a whole entire episode about is this whole concept of the buyer's journey, which is the way people have started buying in the business-to-business world, right? And so not to get into that too much, because we certainly want to talk more about tools.
Let's do this. I think now may be a good breaking point. So we covered the website, blog, and social. So why don't we go ahead and just wrap this one up, and it looks like we can take these sort of 2 bites at a time, because we're getting a little over 10 minutes. But before we do that, how can people get in touch with you, Jason?
Well, the first thing you do would be to start with our website, selectmethods.com. That's 2 words, Select Methods. And
I love the name. Where did the name come from? How did you?
Well, it really focuses in on the fact that we try to curate for our clients the very best way to do something, so there's less trial and error in the process.
My life is trial and error.
So in marketing and in sales, small businesses can't afford to make a lot of mistakes, and so we try to curate the best practices, best tools, and things like that. And so we think we want to provide a very direct path towards results, and that's why we call it that.
That's great. Awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and we'll hit into some of the other tools here in just a second. Next up, we'll cover email marketing and content marketing. I'm sure we both have plenty to share on that. But again, thank you for your time, Jason.
Absolutely. Thanks, Danny.